Chosen one, you did not wake up by accident. This is not insomnia. This is not stress. This is not coincidence. Heaven has stirred you at this exact hour because something divine is unfolding in the spirit. While the rest of the world slumbers under the weight of routine and distraction, you've been summoned into a moment of power. A holy alarm clock has gone off in your soul, and it's ringing louder than fear, louder than exhaustion, louder than every lie, the enemy whispered, before you laid your head down. You were never meant to sleep through this hour, because at 3 a.m., the veil between realms thins, spiritual ears open, the voice of God becomes louder, clearer, and more urgent. When others are lost in dreams, you are being invited into divine strategy. When others are lost in their slumber, you are stepping into sacred territory. Chosen one, you've been activated. This awakening is not random. It is spiritual. The warfare around you has intensified because the anointing within you is maturing. The pressure you felt isn't punishment, it's preparation. The enemy knows what's at stake if you say yes. If you rise now, something will shift, not just in your life, but in the lives of everyone connected to your obedience. The kingdom of darkness counted on you hitting snooze, but God knew you'd get up. There's a reason the enemy attacks your sleep. There's a reason the distractions seem louder at night. Because if you ever fully embraced your 3 a.m. power, if you ever fully tapped into what God downloads in this hour, hell's plans would begin to collapse before sunrise. This is divine strategy. You're not just called to be awake, you're called to be aligned. This is the hour where your assignment sharpens. Listen carefully. In this quiet, heaven is roaring. The same God who spoke galaxies into existence is whispering your name in the dark. He's drawing you close, not to crush you, but to commission you. You are not just a believer, you are a vessel, a gatekeeper, a warrior standing between heaven and earth. There's no one else awake right now with your exact mantle. You are irreplaceable in this hour. Some of you have been waking up at 3 a.m. for weeks, for months. Some of you even tried to ignore it. You assumed it was just your mind wandering, but it was not your mind. It was your spirit responding to divine pull. Chosen one, the realm you belong to doesn't sleep. It moves with fire and power and precision, and your soul knows this. That's why, even in your weariness, you feel the pull. You are being invited into heaven's war room. This is where mantles are released. This is where prayers shift atmospheres. This is where strategies are revealed to break generational curses and silence tormenting spirits. And here's what the Spirit of God is declaring. If you're faithful in the 3 a.m. hour, He will make you ruler over daytime victories. The private surrender leads to public elevation. But listen, this is not a game. This hour is not to be wasted scrolling, complaining, or second-guessing. This hour demands your full attention, your full surrender. When you rise at 3 a.m., don't reach for your phone, reach for your sword. Don't consult Instagram, consult the Word. There are scrolls with your name on them. Heaven is waiting for your yes. Remember what was spoken in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2. When you walk through fire, you will not be burned. That's not just poetry. That's prophecy. It means even now, even at this dark hour, you are surrounded by fire that cannot consume you. You are covered by glory that cannot be stolen. You are armored with promises that cannot return void. This hour is proof you're not just surviving, you're being summoned. Chosen one. Type 333 In the comments, if your spirit feels this divine pull, let it be a prophetic act, a signal to heaven that you're awake, aware, and aligned. This is your hour. This is your call. This is your moment to rise. You are marked, not mistaken. That stirring in your chest, that ache you can't name but can't escape. It is divine. Chosen one. You have been branded by heaven since the beginning. You don't just carry a purpose, you are the evidence of one. The interruptions, the betrayals, the strange weight that follows you, even in silence, all of it is a sign. God has placed something on your life that cannot be duplicated, cannot be transferred, cannot be denied. That restlessness at 3 a.m. is not anxiety. It is the echo of your calling reverberating through the halls of eternity. Heaven has never confused you with anyone else. Though people misunderstood your fire, and friends misread your silence, God never lost sight of who you are. He marked you in places that man couldn't see, and He's pulling you into alignment in a way man cannot undo. You were never meant to blend in, even when you tried, even when you compromised, even when you shrank yourself to be acceptable to others. Something in you refused to be fully dimmed, because what's in you isn't borrowed, it's embedded. It's woven into your DNA. You don't just carry light, you are light. You don't just reflect glory, you provoke it. God allowed certain doors to shut, not because He rejected you, but because He reserved you. He didn't let you stay where you were, celebrated superficially. He removed you from rooms that could not hold the weight of your becoming. That job that didn't work out, that friend group that shifted, that sudden disconnection. It was the pruning of destiny, the clearing of a runway for your anointing to take flight. The enemy tried to convince you that your delays meant denial, that the quiet seasons meant abandonment. But hear this, the silence was strategic. God was not hiding from you. He was hiding you, preserving you, shielding you from premature exposure, because to unleash you too early would have been to sabotage what heaven has planned. You've always sensed it, even as a child. You didn't quite fit the mold. Your dreams were louder, your questions were deeper, your hunger was different. And now, that divine distinction is rising again. The same restlessness that once made you feel like an outsider is now your signal that God is near. He is calling your name through every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every quiet hour. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are hidden in plain sight, wrapped in promise, cloaked in glory. And the time of unveiling is drawing near. But before that release comes the fire, the midnight cries, the 3 a.m. visitations, because what God is birthing through you requires deep roots, a steady heart, a surrendered will. The cost of being chosen is isolation, but the reward is glory. The type of glory that doesn't just shift your life, but shifts everyone connected to it. This is why the warfare intensified when you started taking prayer seriously. This is why the dreams grew vivid when you finally let go of compromise. Because now you are in motion. Now you are becoming, and becoming is painful. It stretches you beyond comfort. It demands silence in a noisy world. It calls for stillness when your flesh wants to react. But it's in that stillness where God speaks clearest. He doesn't shout over chaos. He waits for your stillness, then deposits strategies no man can teach. That strange feeling like something is coming. It's not just intuition, it's revelation. God is pressing your spirit forward while the world around you still looks the same. That tension is sacred. It's the gap between the now and the not yet. And it's in that gap where destiny is carved. This is not punishment. This is preparation. And those who are truly chosen will always feel the press before the promotion, the fire before the favor. Because God builds warriors, not performers. And you, chosen one, are being built to last, to endure, to carry fire and not faint. Let this be your reminder. Just because others don't see it doesn't mean it's not real. Just because they didn't validate you doesn't mean heaven hasn't. Their silence does not cancel God's call. Their rejection doesn't revoke your assignment. You are not mistaken. You are marked. As Paul reminds us in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 6, God raised us up with Christ and seated us with him in the heavenly realms. That's where you are seated even now. Not beneath your trial, but above it. Not under attack, but above every weapon. God didn't raise you just to wander. He raised you to rule, to take territory in the Spirit, to break chains, to call others into light with the same authority that rescued you. So stand firm. Let the restlessness become reverence. Let the silence become sanctuary. You are not being ignored. You are being initiated, not into a religion, but into a movement, a divine uprising of warriors who hear the call when others hear nothing. You are not alone. You are part of something heaven is doing across the earth. The marking on your life is not a curse. It is a crown. Wear it with honor. Walk with confidence. And when you feel misunderstood, remember this: heaven understands you perfectly. You are marked. You are seen. You are chosen. You've been battling while others sleep. While the world is wrapped in dreams, you've been wrapped in warfare. But listen, this is not punishment. This is promotion in disguise. Chosen one, your sleepless nights are not forgotten. Your silent tears, your prayers that had no words, your whispered groans when you didn't even know what to ask, all of it reached heaven. Every unseen battle has been shaping your unseen glory. You wonder why the weight won't lift, why every step feels like resistance. It's because the enemy knows what's on the other side of your obedience. He knows what happens if you ever truly rise. So he sends distractions, fatigue, confusion, doubt. But it's not working. Because even now, weary and worn, you are still here, still standing, still waking up when no one told you to. That's not weakness. That's warrior spirit. Chosen one. You've been fighting in dimensions others don't even believe in. You've been standing guard in the Spirit over people who don't even know how to pray for themselves. That heaviness you carry, it's intercession. That ache in your soul, it's a burden God trusted you with. Because you're not just any believer, you're a spiritual architect, a breaker, a gate opener. You've asked why the attacks seem endless. It's because your breakthrough is contagious. When you win, others will too. When you overcome, whole bloodlines get delivered. That's why the enemy throws everything he has at you, because you're not just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for everyone tied to your destiny. The enemy tried to wear you out with patterns, cycles, confusion. But God is using the same battles to refine your discernment. You've learned to hear His voice, even when it's quiet. You've learned to walk by faith when evidence was missing. You've learned to stay planted, even when everything in you screamed to run. And that's what makes you dangerous. The secret is this: your spiritual battle is not proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're chosen. Ordinary people don't get hit like this. But you've been called to an extraordinary mission. That's why your warfare has been relentless. But your endurance has been relentless too. And every hit you've taken is being turned into holy oil. Every scar is becoming a seal of authority. God is not raising soft believers. He's raising warriors. And that's why your story had to include battles. That's why your past had to be so painful. Because God is pulling power out of the very places the enemy thought he had destroyed you. And he's using those battle wounds to authorize your voice in realms others are too afraid to enter. There is a reason you feel exhausted and stretched and burdened, but still can't quit. Still can't walk away. It's because the Spirit of God has placed within you a flame that hell cannot extinguish. That's what keeps waking you up. That's what keeps pushing you forward. That's what makes you rise, even after collapse. You may not see it yet, but the angels assigned to your life have been deployed. The warfare has been surrounded by divine fire. The enemy's arrows are bouncing off of a shield you didn't even know was there. That last breakdown you had, it could have destroyed anyone else, but it birthed something fierce in you. Something unstoppable. You are not fragile. You are forged. Your power is not found in your perfection. It's found in your persistence, in your refusal to let go of God, even when it didn't make sense. That stubborn, holy grip is what's moving mountains, what's shifting atmospheres, what's making hell nervous every time you pray. Every time you whisper Jesus, every time you get back up. And here's what the Spirit says now. Do not stop. Do not let your current exhaustion lie to you. You are closer than you think. You are more powerful than you realize. And the next time the enemy tries to mock you for the battles you face, remind him you've already survived worse. Remind him you're still rising, still chosen, still armed with a word. Remember what was declared in Luke chapter 10, verse 19. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions. That authority is in your voice, in your breath, in your decision to keep going. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be obedient. And at 3 a.m., God is looking for obedient ones. Not the most visible, not the most eloquent, just the most surrendered. You've been standing in the gap for others, fighting battles no one clapped for. But heaven took notes. Heaven saw you. And now, something is breaking open. Something is shifting. Something is being loosed in the Spirit because you refuse to quit. Comment, I choose victory, because defeat is no longer an option for the one God has chosen. At 3 a.m., something rare begins to stir, not just inside your spirit, but in the realm around you. The noise of the day dies down, and what remains is raw access to the divine. It is no coincidence that you often feel the most clarity, the most conviction, the most presence in the stillness of this hour. It's not just quiet, it's consecrated. This is the hour where distractions are minimal, where spiritual signals are strongest, where heaven downloads secrets into the hearts of those willing to wake. You're not hallucinating when you feel the weight of something sacred at 3 a.m. That's not exhaustion. That's encounter. It's God inviting you into His counsel, into the war room, into revelation that can't be taught, only revealed. Chosen one. The veil between realms is thinnest in these hours. There's a reason ancient prophets, apostles, and intercessors kept watch in the night, because this is when the spirit realm becomes tangible. This is when God speaks in visions, whispers, strategies, and aligns your heart with eternal rhythms. Your dreams intensify, Your discernment sharpens. Your prayers pierce deeper. You're not losing your mind. You're tuning into God. If you felt like sleep evades you at this time, it's not just your body. It's your spirit rising. It's your soul being pulled to attention. It's the Holy Spirit hovering over you, waiting for your awareness. And once you give it, you begin to receive things that aren't available in crowded moments. This is the hour of oil, the hour of clarity, the hour of purification. You may wonder, why 3 a.m.? Why not noon? When you're most awake? Because at noon, you're surrounded by distractions. But at 3 a.m., heaven has your full attention. It's the hour where the external world slumbers, but the internal world ignites. When others dream of escape, you dream of purpose. And that's how God marks his chosen ones, in secret. This hour separates the curious from the committed. It's easy to worship when the sun is shining, but to worship in the darkness, that is devotion. To whisper yes when your body says no, that is surrender. To listen when no one else is awake, that is intimacy. God meets you in that sacrifice. There's something sacred about giving God what costs you something. And sleep, to a weary soul, is costly. But when you trade it for presence, you tap into dimensions you didn't even know existed. You begin to hear heaven's language. You begin to move in alignment with eternal time, not earthly schedules. You may not realize it now, but this hour is changing you. Your senses are being recalibrated. You're no longer distracted by surface-level emotions. You're beginning to crave the depth of God. You're beginning to operate from peace, not panits, from purpose, not pressure. You are beginning to walk in synchronization with the Spirit. God doesn't need your perfection in this hour. He needs your presence. He doesn't demand performance. He desires availability. Just be there. Just show up. Even if your voice trembles, even if you don't know what to say, even if all you can do is sit in silence and weep, that silence becomes incense. That weeping becomes worship. The thinnest veil means the sharpest revelation. And what he reveals at 3 a.m. is often preparation for what he will release in the daylight. When you walk into rooms later, you'll carry something others won't understand. When you speak, your voice will carry unusual weight, because you've been with him. You've sat in the silence. You've allowed your soul to be carved by stillness. At 3 a.m., the Spirit begins to separate noise from necessity. He begins to strip away every voice that's not his, every thought that doesn't belong, every agenda that distracts. And in that stripping, you are being refined, prepared, empowered. You're no longer living from reaction, you're living from revelation. This is why the Spirit waits for the quiet hours, because your defenses are down. You're not posturing, you're not managing image. You're just open. And that openness is the portal through which transformation happens. Your heart softens. Your ears open, your will bends. And in that place, heaven downloads what no sermon could ever teach. It's not about the hour itself, it's about what happens in you during it. The world may never know how many wars you've won between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. How many demonic assignments you cancelled with a whisper. How many breakthroughs you birthed with groans. But God knows. And heaven celebrates. So do not dismiss this stirring. Don't downplay this invitation. You are not restless, you are being revealed. You are not disturbed, you are being discipled. You are being trusted with mysteries that shift history. You are hearing whispers that alter the course of generations. Let the world sleep. You rise. Let others dream. You listen. Because the veil is open and the invitation is clear. Draw near, and he will speak. Hell knows your name and fears it. That sentence may shake you, but let it settle deep, because it's not flattery, it's truth. The forces of darkness know exactly who you are, not the version you've presented to the world, not the mask you've worn to survive, but the real you, the one marked by fire, the one clothed in authority, the one forged in pain and refined by obedience. And that version of you terrifies them. Why do you think the attacks have been so calculated? Why do you think your name was slandered? Why do you think certain doors slammed shut the moment you stepped toward purpose? It's because the enemy recognized the anointing before you did. He saw the glow before you saw the mirror. And the last thing he wants is for you to walk in what God already declared over you. The warfare isn't random, it's targeted. You've been targeted because you carry oil that can't be counterfeited. You carry light that no darkness can comprehend. And even now, as you sit here reading these words, hell's strategy is unraveling. Because what was meant to silence you is waking you up. What was meant to bury you is awakening your roar. Chosen one, this is not the time to shrink. You've been through too much. You've cried too many nights. You've survived what should have broken you. And all of it was allowed so that when this moment came, you would be ready to take your place not as a victim, but as a vessel. The pressure increased because your atmosphere shifted. You're no longer invisible in the realm of the spirit. Demons know your name now. They recognize the fire in your eyes, the authority in your voice. That's why every time you pray, things move. That's why your worship feels weighty. You didn't just survive, you ascended. But here's the key. This isn't about fear, it's about reverence. The enemy doesn't fear your name alone. He fears the one who sealed it, the one who walks with you, the one who speaks through you. That's why the attacks aren't just personal, they're spiritual. Because when you obey, heaven invades earth, and hell trembles. Don't mistake discomfort for defeat. Discomfort is often the evidence of divine disruption. God is shaking everything that cannot stay. Every false relationship, every shallow assignment, every identity that doesn't match your calling. Because what's coming next requires space. It requires clarity. It requires the full version of you. You've seen glimpses of who you really are. But now, God is peeling back the layers. He's calling forth the warrior, the prophet, the intercessor, the breaker. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, but now, because the hour is urgent and the oil is flowing. And yes, it will cost you. It will cost you popularity, comfort, some relationships. But what you gain in return, divine alignment, holy fire, kingdom access is incomparable. You're not losing anything permanent. You're shedding what can't survive the glory that's about to be revealed in you. This is the season where you stop apologizing for your power, where you stop downplaying your discernment, where you stop diluting your voice to make others comfortable. You were never called to blend in. You were called to disrupt, to shift, to transform. And that starts with owning the fullness of your identity. Remember how Jesus was recognized in the spirit realm. Even before he opened his mouth, demons cried out in fear, not because of his appearance, but because of his authority. That same spirit lives in you. The power to trample darkness, to speak life, to break chains. You don't need a stage. You don't need a title. You just need to walk in it. Paul reminds us in Philippians chapter 2, verse 10, "At the name of Jesus every knee should bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth." That name, Jesus, is the banner over your life. It's the name the enemy sees when you rise at 3 a.m. It's the name that covers your prayers, your worship, your very breath. And that name is what shifts everything. Let these words anchor you. You are not a threat because of your past. You're a threat because of your future. The enemy doesn't fight what he's not afraid of. He doesn't attack what he's not threatened by. So if you've been under pressure, under fire, under confusion, it's not because you're weak. It's because you're rising. And now, more than ever, is the time to stay connected, to stay aligned. Messages like this are not just encouragement, they are lifelines, prophetic blueprints. If these words are waking something in you, don't keep them to yourself. Share them. Pass them on. You never know whose spirit will be reignited because you pressed send. And if you feel led to sow into this mission to support the continued flow of prophetic words and divine messages, know that every seed helps spread the fire further. You are not just receiving, you're becoming a part of the movement. Don't just listen. Subscribe. Be planted. Be part of something that aligns with what heaven is doing in this hour. Because this isn't just content, it's confirmation. It's not just words, it's a word for you. Let the enemy tremble. Let the fear fade. Let your spirit rise. You are not hidden. You are not weak. You are a threat to darkness, and hell knows it. There are moments when God doesn't thunder, he whispers. And those whispers often come at 3 a.m., while the world is submerged in sleep. Head draws near, gently, firmly, faithfully, not with noise, but with knowing, not with chaos, but with clarity. Chosen one, if you've been stirred awake night after night, understand this. It's not an interruption, it's an invitation. In those quiet hours, something ancient and sacred begins to happen. The veil lifts, the heavens lean low, and you begin to sense something that's hard to put into words, a pull, a weight, a wind in your chest that moves through your soul. It is the voice of God calling his remnant, not the masses, not the crowd, just those who can hear when no one else is listening. You may be the only one awake in your house, the only one stirring in your neighborhood, but you are not alone. Heaven sees, heaven moves, and in that unseen realm, angels take notice when a chosen one answers the whisper. This hour is not about how loud you are, it's about how aligned you are. The stillness of 3 a.m. strips away every performance. No audience. No spotlight, just you and God, just raw surrender. It's in that stillness where true faith is refined, not the faith you show others, not the rehearsed prayers, but the trembling yes, the weary but willing heart, the unfiltered cry of, "Here I am." God meets you there. In the room no one else enters. In the groans that never get posted. In the surrender that's never recorded. That's where he releases secrets. That's where he reveals plans that were sealed for such a time as this. You may think you're just pacing the floor, but you're standing in the courts of the King. Chosen one. This hour holds transactions the world will never understand. Oil for ashes, joy for mourning, strength for surrender. You may wake up heavy, but if you yield, you'll leave changed. That pain you carry isn't just yours, it's intercession. That weight isn't just emotion, it's spiritual calling pressing against flesh. And it's in that pressing where new oil is produced. Heaven does not waste crushing, God does not allow weight without glory. And for every tear you've shed when no one was watching, there is a harvest being prepared in silence. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to prove it. You just have to stay in position. The 3 a.m. hour is sacred ground. It's where heaven trains generals. You are being sharpened for more than survival. You are being forged for warfare. This is the difference between being awake and being activated. Many wake, but few answer. But you, something in you, keeps responding, even when it costs you sleep, even when no one understands. And that consistency has not gone unnoticed. The Spirit of God sees every time you say yes in secret, every time you whisper, speak, Lord, when you could just roll over. That level of obedience is what separates the casual from the called, and you, chosen one, are clearly among the called. There's a reason your eyes open when they do. It's because something is being released that needs your agreement. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, you may not know what to pray, but your spirit does. Sometimes it's not even about the words, it's about your presence, just showing up, just sitting in the stillness. That's where heaven begins to speak in symbols, in numbers, in nudges. These patterns aren't random. They are prophetic signals, numbers that keep repeating, names that won't leave your mind, a sense that something is coming soon. That's not overthinking. That's God. That's the Spirit drawing you into attention, pulling you out of routine and into revelation. You don't need a platform to be a prophet. You don't need a stage to be significant. You just need obedience. Obedience in the night hours. Obedience when no one applauds. That is where mantles fall. That is where legacy begins. As we read in Proverbs chapter 8, verse 17, I love those who love me, and those who seek me find me. You've been seeking, not just casually, not just when convenient, but earnestly. And that kind of pursuit always draws a response from heaven. You won't leave this season empty. You won't leave these encounters unchanged. What is being cultivated in you in the dark is going to manifest in power when the light returns. Don't despise the silence. Don't resist the solitude. You are not being forgotten. You are being formed. God is shaping the interior before revealing the exterior. He's establishing your roots before revealing your branch. And that is a sign of His love, not His absence. So next time the whisper comes, rise. Don't second guess it. Don't ask for proof. Just respond. Because that one, yes, might be the one that opens a generational door. That one surrender might be the tipping point for 1,000 breakthroughs you'll never see with your own eyes. You've been faithful in obscurity, and heaven is watching. Every pain was preparation. You didn't endure all of that for nothing. Every night you cried into your pillow. Every moment you questioned if you'd make it. Every betrayal that left you bleeding in silence. It all mattered. It all worked. And it all shaped the vessel you are now becoming. Chosen one. The pain didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal you. God has a way of pulling purpose out of pain in a way no man can. He doesn't just rescue you from the fire, He forges you in it. That's why others melted under the same pressure that made you stronger. That's why what broke others didn't break you. You were being prepared, not punished. Some of your greatest afflictions were actually answered prayers in disguise. You asked God to use you, to elevate you, to anoint you. And heaven answered, but not with applause, with agony, because before He gives you influence, He gives you intimacy. Before he hands you a platform, he tests your posture. Can you worship when no one watches? Can you obey when there's no reward? Can you trust him when it hurts? The crushing was not cruelty. It was cultivation. It was the process of pressing out the oil that now rests on you. No olive ever yields oil without being crushed, and no vessel walks in authority without carrying the scars of surrender. You wear those scars not as shame, but as seals of where God met you. Even your silence served a purpose. God heard the prayers you couldn't form. He felt the pain you couldn't articulate. Heaven interpreted the groans of your spirit and answered with power. While others were laughing, you were limping. But even your limp has become your leverage. It proves you've wrestled with God and survived. That sickness you endured, that trauma you carried, that loss that shook your soul, it didn't remove your calling, it refined it. Your weeping became your worship. Your pain became your prophecy. You learned how to lean on God in a way that books can't teach and sermons can't simulate. Chosen one, you didn't just survive, you submitted. And that submission made you dangerous. Because now, you don't just know about God, you know Him. You've met Him in the fire. You've clung to Him in the dark. And what He's built in you can't be undone by opinions, rejection, or delay. There is glory being born from your grief. The tears you sowed in private are becoming weapons in the spirit. The altar you built in the valley is calling down answers in the mountain. And every ounce of pain is being repurposed into spiritual authority. You have access to realms others can't enter, not because you're better, but because you bled for it. Your journey has made you compassionate. You see people others ignore. You discern things others overlook. Because your pain gave you eyes to see like heaven. You know how to pray for people not just out of obligation, but out of memory. Because you remember what it felt like to be on the floor with no one checking in, and that memory makes your intercession powerful. Even your delays were part of it. You weren't forgotten, you were being fortified. There were seasons you felt buried, but in truth, you were being planted. What looked like isolation was actually insulation. God was preserving you from the rot of premature exposure. And now, you're beginning to see the fruit. Slowly, quietly, but surely. God never wastes pain. He bottles every tear. He remembers every sigh. And now, He's redeeming the years. Not just the good ones, the lost ones, the stolen ones, the confused ones. Everything is coming full circle. But with this difference, you're no longer the same person. You don't need validation now. You've got revelation. You don't crave applause. You crave alignment. You're not obsessed with being seen. You're obsessed with being sent. That shift is why you were trusted with such pain in the first place. God knew it would not make you bitter. It would make you bold. As David wrote in Psalm chapter 34, verse 18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." That closeness is what carried you, even when it felt like abandonment. You were being drawn closer, because there's a depth of anointing that can only be unlocked through surrender in sorrow. And now, you walk with that oil. You carry that residue. Not everyone will understand it. Not everyone will recognize it. But the spirit realm does. And that's why you can't stop here. You didn't endure all that to return to average. You didn't walk through fire just to play it safe. You were prepared for something that eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard. You are not who you used to be. You are refined, rebuilt, recommissioned. Let the world wonder. Let them question. But you know, you remember the nights, the tears, the silence, and you know what came out of them. Not bitterness, not defeat, but fire. And that fire now burns in your bones. And it's only just beginning. God is unlocking the scroll of your identity, not the identity they labeled you with, not the image you learned to wear to survive, but the divine identity etched into your spirit before time began. The version of you that existed in heaven's design long before trauma tried to redefine you, before rejection wrapped around your heart, before culture convinced you to shrink. Chosen one, heaven is unveiling who you truly are, and it's not small. You are not the sum of your scars. You are not limited by your lineage. You are not the label others placed on you in ignorance or envy. You are marked. You are mantled. You are more than the surface has ever revealed. This is why certain places no longer fit, why certain conversations feel hollow, why even your old ambitions have shifted. Because your spirit is remembering. It's waking up to what was written before the world touched you, before opinions shaped you, before pain misdirected you. You are being called back into alignment with heaven's blueprint. There is a scroll written about your life, a divine record sealed in the spirit. And now, God is unlocking it line by line, layer by layer, not all at once, not in chaos, but in precise, prophetic rhythm. You're beginning to sense it. You see glimpses of that version of yourself when you worship, when you dream, when you pray. That's not imagination, that's revelation. This unveiling doesn't come through striving. It comes through surrender. As you yield, as you listen in the midnight hour, as you obey when no one's watching, your identity becomes clearer. Not borrowed, not forced, but original, holy, unmistakable. You were not created to imitate, you were created to embody. And what God is calling you to embody in this season is weighty. It carries generational impact. It disturbs systems. It revives dry places. That's why the opposition has been so fierce. That's why your past has felt like a battlefield. Because your identity is not ornamental, it's offensive to darkness. Every time you speak truth, the kingdom of hell loses ground. Every time you say yes to God, you echo the original intent spoken over your life before you were formed. That echo terrifies the enemy because it signals that you're no longer confused, no longer wandering, no longer asleep. You are not what they did to you. You are not what they said about you. You are not your failures, your past decisions, or your moments of doubt. You are who God says you are. And what He says doesn't waver with time or opinion. His word is eternal, and it is final. As it was spoken in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. That knowledge of you, the original version, is what God is reintroducing to you now. The calling that scared you, the gifts you buried, the fire you thought was gone, it's all coming back, not as theory, but as truth, not as concept, but as command. This is not the time to retreat. This is the time to recognize, to look in the mirror and see beyond the familiar, to recognize the warrior behind the wounds, the prophet behind the pain, the intercessor behind the insecurity, because the version of you that's being revealed has always existed. It was simply covered by survival. Now, survival is giving way to strategy. God isn't just rescuing you, He's recommissioning you, not to return to who you were, but to rise as who you've always been in Him. This is the unveiling of the true self, the one who walks in authority, the one who knows their name in the Spirit, the one who doesn't need approval to move forward. You no longer carry the weight of proving yourself. When heaven speaks, validation is already built in. You no longer chase rooms that were never meant to hold you. You are being placed exactly where your voice was designed to shift atmospheres, and it will not be subtle. Chosen one, get used to walking differently, thinking differently, praying differently, because heaven is restoring what was stolen, not just time, not just opportunities, but identity. He's giving you back your name, the one the world forgot, the one the enemy tried to bury, the one written in glory. You don't need to explain your transformation. Just walk in it. The fruit will speak. The favor will speak. The peace you carry will speak. Those who knew the old, you won't recognize this version, and that's okay. You weren't called to be familiar. You were called to be set apart. This is what happens when the scroll is opened. You remember, you align, you become, and as that alignment deepens, everything around you begins to respond. Heaven opens, doors unlock, divine timing accelerates, because nothing moves until you stand in your true identity. And now, you're standing. You were hidden to be preserved. The silence wasn't neglect. The isolation wasn't abandonment. The rejection wasn't punishment. It was protection. God kept you out of certain rooms, not because you weren't ready, but because those rooms weren't worthy. He allowed you to be overlooked, because premature exposure would have diluted your oil. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being forged. Chosen one, heaven doesn't rush development. While others sprinted ahead, you were being rooted. While others performed, you were being purified. While others were seen, you were being sealed. And that hiddenness is your strength, not your shame. Because what's built in secret is sustained in power. You weren't delayed, you were preserved, covered, guarded, watched over by a God who refused to let you settle for applause when he destined you for authority. He allowed the curtain to stay closed, not to waste time, but to prepare the stage, not to withhold, but to refine. You weren't just hidden from enemies, you were hidden from premature praise that could have derailed your purpose. You've carried the ache of invisibility. You've watched others rise while you waited, but heaven saw it all. Your obedience in the shadows, your prayers in the silence, your faithfulness when no one noticed. And now, the silence is shifting. The hiding place is becoming the launching place. Understand this. Everything you learned in the secret place will sustain you in the spotlight. The anointing you cultivated in quiet will carry you in chaos. You are not stepping into new visibility with empty hands. You're stepping in with heaven's weight, and it cannot be imitated. This is why the hiding had to happen, because God had to strip you of every false identity, every misplaced dependency, every fear of man. He had to make sure that when you were finally seen, nothing could shake you. And now, you've been made unshakable, rooted, tried, proven. The hidden years were holy years. Every unanswered prayer was heard. Every no was mercy. Every delay was divine. And what's coming next won't be random. It will be the result of refined readiness. You won't have to force it. You won't have to beg. What is yours will recognize you, because you're finally walking in who you really are. There's a difference between being buried and being planted. The buried die and disappear, but the planted break through and bloom. You weren't buried, you were planted. And now the soil is breaking. The season is shifting, and heaven is whispering, grow. When others forgot your name, Heaven remembered. When you were passed over, angels recorded it. When your value was underestimated, the Spirit of God whispered over you, "Just wait." And you did. Not perfectly, but faithfully. Not without questions, but without quitting. As it was spoken in Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." You didn't give up. You didn't let bitterness harden you. You didn't let comparison poison you. You stayed. You obeyed. You endured. And now, the proper time is approaching. The door is unlocking. The season is announcing, and what once was hidden will now become a lighthouse for others who feel forgotten. But you'll carry this visibility differently, not with ego, but with empathy, because you remember what it felt like to be unseen. You remember what it cost to keep showing up in the dark, and that memory will protect your humility. Your fire will burn, but it will not consume. It will warm others, illuminate paths, break chains. Chosen one. The hiding wasn't just for you, it was for those you'll reach. Because your story carries evidence that silence isn't the end, that being forgotten isn't fatal, that what God hides, He also honors. And now, He's about to honor you not because you chased the platform, but because you never abandoned the process. So when they see you rise, they'll think it's sudden, but you'll know better. You'll remember the wilderness, the nights you questioned everything, the prayers you whispered in broken places, and you'll know this was God's doing, and it is marvelous in your eyes. Type seen by heaven below, because even in silence, God was watching every step. Heaven's urgency is rising. There are moments when time bends, when eternity presses close, and what once felt distant becomes immediate. This is one of those moments. Chosen one. You are not just being called, you are being summoned. The delay season is over. The season of hesitation is closing. What once required waiting now requires response. The Spirit is moving swiftly, and those who hesitate risk missing divine windows. This is not fear. This is clarity. The urgency you feel in your spirit is heaven's alarm clock. Not to panic, but to position. You are being asked to move not just with intention, but with immediacy. There are things God is aligning right now that won't wait forever. There are people you are assigned to reach. Prayers you are designed to pray. Atmospheres you are called to shift, and the moment to act is now. You can no longer afford to sit in indecision. You are being called to obedience without delay. You've carried the weight of prophetic words. You've felt the sting of preparation. You've watched the clock tick as promise after promise hung just out of reach. But hear this. The season of stretching was not punishment. It was to prepare you for the speed of the next move. Because when God moves, it often happens fast. And only those who are ready will be able to run with Him. No more stalling. No more excuses disguised as wisdom. You've heard enough. You've prayed enough. You know what to do. It's time to do it. Heaven isn't asking for your perfection, just your participation, just your yes. Not later. Now, why do you think the warfare increased? Why did the distractions multiply? Why did every small step forward seem met with chaos? Because something was about to break open. And the enemy's last strategy is always delay. If he can't defeat you, he'll try to distract you. If he can't destroy you, he'll try to discourage you. But the time has come. The oil is ready. The door is unlocking. And your name is being called in the Spirit. This is not a gentle season, it's a clarifying one. You are either aligned or you are not. You are either in movement or you are in maintenance. And maintenance will not carry you into your next. Heaven is moving through urgency now. Angels are being dispatched with orders. Assignments are shifting. Territories are opening. What you do next matters more than you realize. Because some doors open briefly, and only those with oil in their lamps walk through them. Remember the parable Jesus told in Matthew 25. The wise virgins who kept their oil were ready when the bridegroom came. The others, they missed the moment, not because they were evil, but because they were unprepared. Don't let that be you. Stay ready. Be filled. Be watchful. As Paul declared in Romans chapter 13, verse 11, the hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. You've been awakened for a reason, not to spectate, to act, not to merely observe others rise, but to rise yourself. And with that rising comes responsibility to pray deeper, to fast stronger, to forgive quicker, to obey faster. You don't have time to carry yesterday's weight into tomorrow's release. This is the hour where clarity replaces confusion, where delays end, where yes becomes movement. And as you step, you will notice doors opening, alignments shifting, favor unlocking, not because you forced anything, but because you finally moved in step with heaven's urgency. Chosen one. This message isn't just encouragement. It's a trumpet blast in the spirit. For you, for your family, for your calling. Because God's timeline is active now, and delay will cost more than comfort. It may cost connections, assignments, kingdom impact. Stay sharp, stay ready, and stay connected. If these words are confirming what your spirit has been sensing, consider staying aligned with this movement. Like, share, subscribe, not out of ritual, but out of response. This is more than content. It's confirmation for those whose spirits are sensitive to the times. And if you feel led, sow into this prophetic stream. Your support helps this message reach others who are waking up to the same urgency. Every act of faith is a seed that moves with heaven's momentum. But above all, listen, move, align. Heaven is calling, and your yes matters now more than ever. What's chasing you is afraid of you. It may not feel like it. You've spent seasons running from pressure, from fear, from pain. You've been looking over your shoulder, wondering why the battles keep intensifying, why the opposition feels so personal. But what if you've misunderstood the pursuit? What if what's chasing you isn't chasing to conquer, but to distract, to delay, to deceive? Chosen one. You are not the hunted. You are the hunter. You are the one marked with authority, the one who carries light, the one whose obedience disrupts darkness. The enemy doesn't attack what's weak, he attacks what's rising, what's dangerous. And you, even in your weariness, are a threat to every system of oppression and every cycle of bondage. There's a reason chaos seems to erupt when you move forward. A reason doors seem to resist you. A reason people pull away when your clarity increases. It's not always personal, it's spiritual. Darkness can smell awakening. And the moment you begin to realize who you are, it loses control. Fear has been chasing you, but not because you're weak, because your presence threatens the strongholds it's been guarding. Anxiety tried to overwhelm you, not because you were fragile, but because your peace has the power to shift entire environments. Every attack has been a signal not of defeat, but of destiny. The things that once terrified you now tremble in your presence, not because of your volume, not because of your strength, but because you've been through too much to be easily shaken. You carry experience, scars, and glory. You've prayed when others ran. You've endured when quitting seemed easier. You've walked through fire and didn't burn. Now, the tables are turning. You're no longer running. You're realizing that every step forward reclaims territory, that every whispered prayer becomes a weapon, that every time you speak truth, chains crack and break. The enemy hoped you would stay unaware, stay distracted, stay silent, but now, you're becoming dangerous. This is why so many things have come against you. Not because you're cursed, but because you're called. The closer you get to the center of your purpose, the more pressure rises, but so does the power within you. Your weapons are not weak. Your prayers are not empty. Your presence carries kingdom weight. Chosen one, you were never meant to run from darkness. You were meant to confront it, to walk into places others avoid and command peace, to look pain in the eye and declare healing, to enter generational battles and break cycles simply by obeying what God said. And you've been doing it often without realizing it. Every time you chose love instead of bitterness, every time you stayed when others left, every time you interceded when your own heart was breaking. These were not small acts. These were battleground moments. And you won. You didn't just survive the storm, you silenced it. You didn't just get through warfare, you shifted it. You may not have seen the results in the natural, but in the spirit realm, things broke. Chains fell. Doors opened. Hell took a step back. As we read in Isaiah chapter 54, Verse 17, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. That promise is not poetic, it's protective. It means the weapons will form, but they will not finish. The words will be spoken, but they will not stick. The attacks will be launched, but they will not land. You've been shielded by purpose. And now, the power of that purpose is activating. You are stepping into seasons where the same demons that chased you will flee from you. The same torment that tried to silence you will be silenced by your voice. You've transitioned from survival to strategy. You're not running. You're advancing. This shift in posture will change everything. The way you pray, the way you worship, the way you respond to pressure. You're no longer wondering if you're chosen, you know. And that knowing becomes your weapon. Your clarity becomes your compass. Your authority becomes your anchor. And don't be surprised when fear tries to return. When resistance rises again, it's a reaction to your revelation. But now, you're different. You see the patterns. You recognize the lies. You stand your ground, not in arrogance, but in assurance. You know who backs you. You know who goes before you. And that knowing cannot be shaken. You were never running from defeat. You were being chased by destiny. And now, you're not just catching up, you're overtaking. You are becoming the answer to prayers you didn't even know were being prayed. You are the solution to strongholds that thought they'd never be challenged. And the spirit realm knows it. Prophetic signs and spiritual downloads, they've been all around you. Numbers repeating, dreams intensifying, random nudges that won't go away. The whisper that you're not where you used to be but not quite where you're going. It's not your imagination. It's heaven communicating in code. God is speaking, not always in words, but in patterns. symbols, and signs that mark the path ahead. Chosen one, you are not just walking, you are being guided, strategically, precisely, lovingly. God has been weaving a trail of confirmation through your life, from billboards to conversations, from random scriptures to inexplicable peace. Heaven has been trying to get your attention, and the more sensitive you become, the more frequent these downloads arrive. There's a reason the number 3 shows up at 3 a.m. A reason you keep seeing 7S, 11S, or 17S. These aren't coincidences. These are timestamps on your destiny, prophetic alarms to remind you God is near. He's speaking, He's moving. The patterns are divine breadcrumbs. They don't always come with full explanation, but they always carry weight. A repeated number isn't just strange, it's a signal, a confirmation. Heaven's way of saying, you're on the right path. Keep walking. And every time you respond, the signal strengthens. Dreams have increased lately. Some vivid, some strange, but they all stir something inside. That's because dreams are one of heaven's native languages. When your logical mind shuts down, the spirit remains wide open. And in that space, God downloads blueprints, warnings, and encouragements too deep for words. You're not dreaming randomly. God is whispering strategy while you sleep. Visions of places you've never seen, people you've never met, but somehow your spirit recognizes them. That's not fantasy, that's prophecy. And the more you honor it, the more heaven will trust you with it. This sensitivity is not by chance. It's been cultivated through surrender, through obedience. You didn't wake up one day prophetic. You responded to the process. And now, your ears are tuned, your eyes sharpened. You catch what others miss. You sense what others dismiss. That's not a burden, it's a blessing. Chosen one, you've been set apart to decode what heaven is doing on earth. Your perception is not paranoia, it's discernment. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it's a weapon. And God is training you to trust it, to lean into the signs, to believe what your spirit confirms, even when your mind questions it. As it says in Job chapter 33, verses 14, 15. For God does speak now one way, now another, though no one perceives it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, He's been speaking, and you're perceiving, maybe not with perfect clarity, but with growing confidence. You're learning to recognize the divine interruptions, the holy patterns, the whispers that come when the world grows still. The timing of this awareness is not accidental. Heaven is about to release instructions, strategies that can't be found in books or blueprints, and only the tuned in will receive them. Only the aligned will move in step. That's why your sensitivity has been increasing, because your assignment is shifting. This is the season of spiritual intelligence, of divine decoding. You will look back and realize that every number, every dream, every repeated word was a layer of the map you needed to navigate what's next. And now, that map is unfolding. So don't brush it off. Don't explain it away. Lean into it. Record your dreams. Pray into the numbers. Ask God for clarity, and trust that He will answer. You've been trained for this, and the signs will become instructions, the visions will become strategies, the nudges will become movements. God doesn't just speak, He guides. And you, chosen one, are being led with care, with purpose, with detail. Every pattern is a promise. Every sign is a seed. And every spiritual download is an invitation to deeper trust. Type 444 in the comments if you're ready to recognize the signs and receive divine instruction, because heaven is speaking and you are listening. You carry legacy in your lungs. Every breath you take isn't just oxygen, it's prophecy. You weren't just born into this generation by accident. You were sent, placed, positioned with purpose. And the air in your lungs carries more than survival, it carries sound. Sound that breaks cycles. Sound that shatters silence. Sound that heaven recognizes as its own. Chosen one. You may not always feel it. You may think your voice is too quiet, your reach too small, your presence too overlooked. But the spiritual realm doesn't measure volume or views. It measures weight, authority. And when you speak, truly speak from the core of who God made you to be, things move. There's a reason the enemy attacked your confidence. A reason shame tried to steal your words. Because your voice was never ordinary. It was always meant to carry legacy, to be a vessel through which truth, healing, and destiny are released. You carry in your sound what previous generations cried for but never saw. The silence you've held onto those moments when you bit your tongue, swallowed your grief, stayed quiet when you wanted to scream, none of it was wasted. It's been gathering in your spirit, being refined, purified, and now it's turning into power. When you speak now, it comes with evidence, with fire, with remembrance. You were called not just to echo others, but to declare heaven's sound on earth. That declaration may look different for each of us. Some speak with words, others with music, others with art, leadership, compassion. But in all of it, the breath of God is carried forward, through your lungs, through your life. And this is not about talent, it's about torch-bearing, legacy. You've been given what your ancestors wept for. You are standing in places they only dreamed of, breaking curses they thought were permanent. You don't just carry a legacy, you are one, a living, breathing continuation of God's redemptive story. The moments you've wanted to give up were not random. The suffocation you felt in certain seasons wasn't just stress, it was spiritual resistance. Because the moment you start speaking with clarity, with truth, with obedience, the kingdom of darkness starts trembling. Your breath carries the breath of God. Your sound carries weight. When you open your mouth in truth, the heavens respond. Angels move. Bondage loosen. Not because of who you are alone, but because of the Spirit within you. You're not speaking from ego, you're speaking from eternity. And that makes you unstoppable. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You have not missed your moment. What you've endured has only deepened the power in your voice. The betrayal added resonance. The delay added depth. The healing added humility. And now, every word that comes from your mouth carries layers of redemption. You may not see it, but others feel it. When you speak, something shifts in the room. When you pray, the atmosphere gets quieter. When you worship, resistance softens. That's not charisma, that's spiritual residue. The kind that only forms through surrender, through fire, through faithfulness when no one applauded. As David declared in Psalm chapter 150, verse 6, "Let everything that has breath praise the Lord." And you, with every inhale and exhale, are praising not just with song, but with purpose, with action, with obedience. Your breath is an act of war against the forces that tried to take you out. And you're still here, still breathing, still rising. What's in your lungs is not weak, it's weighty. Heaven listens when you exhale with conviction. The spirit realm adjusts when you walk into rooms you used to cry about, because now your presence is prophetic. You've become the answer to the prayer you once prayed. And it's not stopping here. You're still discovering the depths of your voice, the spaces it can fill, the people it can reach, the strongholds it can break. And all of it will be done not by might, not by performance, but by the Spirit breathing through you. You don't need to chase visibility. You just need to stay vocal in obedience. The right ears will hear. The right doors will open. Because your voice carries divine alignment. You're not called to sound like the rest. You're called to carry sound that awakens the remnant. So breathe deep. Speak boldly. Sing. Write. Move. Lead, however, heaven flows through you. Let it be unhindered. The breath you carry isn't just air, it's the echo of God's intention. Still living, still active, still unfolding through your life. You've been entrusted with breakthrough oil, not borrowed, not imitated, entrusted. Heaven saw fit to place within you an anointing that carries weight in unseen realms, an oil refined by adversity, pressed out through obedience. And now, that oil is beginning to flow, not for show, but for shift, not to decorate, but to deliver. Chosen one, your oil did not come cheap. It cost you comfort. It cost you relationships. It cost you versions of yourself you had to outgrow. You didn't receive this oil through convenience. You received it through crushing. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every private battle you didn't post about, it was all part of the press. You endured seasons where it felt like everything was being taken from you. But in truth, something was being given to you. Oil, the kind that breaks generational curses, the kind that silences demonic cycles, the kind that doesn't need a crowd to be effective, just obedience. This is why you feel different, why your presence shifts the atmosphere without effort. It's not you alone, it's what you carry. The Spirit of the Lord has anointed you, and that anointing comes with responsibility. It's not for entertainment, it's for emancipation. You've walked into rooms unaware of how much your presence disturbed the norm, not because you said anything, but because the oil on your life speaks for itself. Chains begin to shake in silence. Things begin to break open without warning. That's what oil does. It seeps into places performance can't reach. And this oil, your oil, has been increasing. Quietly, consistently. Heaven has been refining you in places no one else saw. While others celebrated surface, you were buried in process. While others chased platforms, you were shaped in prayer. And now, what you carry cannot be shaken. Don't underestimate what's been entrusted to you. You may not feel qualified. You may still feel wounded. But God chooses broken vessels because the cracks allow the oil to flow freely. You've been made usable, not through perfection, but through surrender. As it was written in Isaiah chapter 61, verse 1, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor." That scripture isn't just about the prophets of old, it's about you. You have been anointed to declare good news, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom, to comfort those who mourn, not someday, now, not later. Today, because the oil is ready. This is why the battles were so personal. The warfare wasn't just about you, it was about what you were carrying. If the enemy could taint your oil, he could stall your impact. But you didn't fold. You didn't forfeit. And now, heaven is sealing what hell tried to steal. This oil you carry will go where sermons can't. It will touch hearts logic can't reach. It will trigger deliverance in casual conversations. Because breakthrough doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it comes with a whisper, a look, a prayer in the hallway. And that's what you've been prepared for. You don't have to announce your anointing. The fruit will speak. The oil will speak. The lives around you will begin to shift. Bondages will begin to break, not just around you, but through you. And all of it will happen because you stayed faithful when you had every reason to quit. God has entrusted you with breakthrough oil, and He's about to send you into dry places. Places that have been parched for years. Homes, families, churches, cities. And when you show up, the oil will start to flow. Not because of your charisma, but because of your consecration. There will be moments where you'll feel the atmosphere shift and not understand why. It's the oil. There will be people who cry around you and don't know why. It's the oil. There will be things that break open when you walk in. That's not coincidence. That's the power of what you've been entrusted with. You didn't earn this. You stewarded it. You yielded. You endured. And now, you carry something that cannot be replicated. Heaven trusted you with breakthrough because you didn't rush the process. You didn't escape the wilderness. You let God do the deep work, and now, He's releasing deep impact. The oil is not for you. It's for the bound, for the broken, for the ones who thought God had forgotten them. And you will be the evidence. He has not. Because when you show up, something will shift. Not because of who you are, but because of what you carry. Guard this oil. Honor it. Don't cast it before those who won't steward it. Don't waste it on proving yourself. Let it flow only where heaven sends it. And when it flows, watch what happens. Generations will be impacted. Strongholds will fall. And you will know this is what it was all for. Darkness has overplayed its hand. The attacks were too obvious. The patterns too repetitive. The cycles too relentless. It was supposed to break you, but instead it revealed you what the enemy meant for destruction. God has flipped into distinction. And now, chosen one, you're not just surviving, you're stepping into seasoned authority. For too long, the adversary believed if he applied enough pressure, you'd quit. If he used the right people, you'd retreat. If he repeated the same wounds, you'd eventually go numb. But you didn't. You endured. You cried. Yes. You questioned. Yes. But you remained. And in doing so, you became dangerous. Because now, you see the patterns clearly. The enemy's strategies don't shock you, they expose him. What used to intimidate you now confirms you're getting close. That fear that once paralyzed you, it's now your alarm that breakthrough is near. That's what happens when you mature in warfare. You stop panicking and start perceiving. The attacks became repetitive because the enemy ran out of creativity. He used everything he had, and none of it worked. So he circled back, hoping you wouldn't notice. But now you do. You recognize the trap before it forms. You sense the sabotage before it speaks. That's growth. That's discernment. And here's the twist. Those attacks produced oil. What was meant to drain you actually anointed you. You now carry a kind of weight that can't be faked. A presence that shifts rooms without speaking. It's not ego, it's residue. The aftermath of walking through fire and refusing to lose your faith. The very realm that once mocked your calling is now forced to acknowledge it. Darkness didn't just lose its grip on you, it lost access to the version of you that used to doubt. You've come out wiser, sharper, closer to God than ever before. And the enemy doesn't know what to do with this version of you. You've seen too much now, felt too much, prayed through too much to ever go back to small living. This isn't arrogance, it's awareness. You know what it cost to get here. The nights you didn't sleep, the tears that stained your pillow, the moments you almost gave up but didn't. All of it has culminated in this, the rise of a remnant. A chosen one no longer afraid of being misunderstood, no longer desperative for validation, no longer willing to compromise for comfort. You've been purged of performance, refined by rejection, strengthened through silence, and now you walk with conviction. As we read in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." That glory is beginning to shine through you, not just in public platforms, but in private victories, in your patience, in your peace, in your ability to love when it's hard, stay when it's easier to leave, and trust when everything looks barren. That is glory on display, and the enemy can't stop it. The increased pressure was actually prophecy in disguise. It proved something bigger was coming. It revealed the weight of what you're carrying. You're not just a survivor, you're a sign that God still heals, still restores, still raises up warriors from the ashes of brokenness. This is why you must stay connected. Messages like these don't just inspire, they confirm. They remind your spirit what it already knows. You are marked for more. So like, share, subscribe. Keep this current of clarity flowing. Help others step out of fog and into focus. And if this word is resonating deeply, consider sowing. Your seed helps these prophetic messages reach others who need urgent alignment. It's not about amount, it's about agreement. Each offering says, "I believe in what God is doing here." But above all, let your life continue to speak. Let your consistency destroy every lie that said you were unstable. Let your joy silence every demon that banked on your depression. Let your resilience mock every spirit that swore you'd fold. Because the enemy didn't just fail, he exposed himself. And now, you see clearly. You've stepped into full awareness, full authority, and full alignment. There's no going back. The veil has been torn, the mask removed, and you've emerged. Type "exposed" and "defeated" in the comments if you see how the enemy's final play only fueled your purpose. You are entering divine manifestation, not theory, not mere hope. Manifestation. What was once only whispered to your heart is now beginning to take form. The dreams you held in private, the words you journaled through tears, the visions that seemed too big to be real. God is bringing them into the visible realm. Heaven's timeline has intersected with your faith, and now the unseen is becoming seen. Chosen one. Manifestation doesn't come to the distracted. It doesn't find the indifferent. It locates the obedient, and you, through countless decisions, to trust when it was inconvenient, to obey when it was painful, have positioned yourself for this very moment. You didn't chase opportunity, you cultivated oil. And now the oil is drawing the promise into place. Don't be surprised when what used to seem far suddenly stands in front of you. When prayers you forgot you prayed begin to unfold. God never forgot. He just waited for the version of you that could sustain the weight of the promise. And that version is now awake. This season carries an air of acceleration. What took years will now happen in months. What seemed delayed will catch up overnight. Not because of coincidence, but because of divine alignment. You've stepped into the rhythm of heaven, and things that were once hard will begin to flow. But manifestation isn't magic. It's the result of preparation meeting timing, and your preparation every fast, every midnight prayer, every moment of discipline is colliding with heaven's appointed time. You're not lucky. You're aligned. You're not favored randomly. You're favored because you stayed when leaving made more sense. There is a specific kind of favor that falls on the faithful, a tangible shift in atmosphere that cannot be denied. You're entering rooms you once dreamed about, speaking with people you once admired from a distance, stepping into spaces that once seemed impossible. But now they fit not because they changed, but because you did. God is not just answering your prayers, He's fulfilling His word. He's not reacting to your faithfulness, He's revealing what was always written. You're not stepping into chance, you're stepping into chapters that were sealed until now. And heaven is turning the pages swiftly, as it is written in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. It's coming, and it will not delay. You've waited, and now the wait has matured into witness. The witness of a God who keeps His promises. The witness of a story that was never about speed, but strength. Never about glamour, but glory. And make no mistake, what's manifesting is not just for you. It's through you. The blessings, the open doors, the restoration. It's all evidence to those watching silently that God is still God. Your life is becoming a living scroll, a moving testimony that shakes doubt and stirs faith. You will not need to explain yourself in this season. The fruit will speak. The transformation will testify. Those who misread you will have no choice but to reconsider. But your focus is not on them. It's on Him, the one who walked you through every valley, every dry place, every unanswered prayer, and never left. There will be moments where you'll pause, stunned by what's unfolding, places where you'll remember the pain and smile, not because it didn't hurt, but because it produced harvest. That job, that healing, that reconciliation, that new door, none of it is random. It's redemption in motion. Manifestation doesn't mean ease. It means evidence. You'll still need to steward what comes, guard it, honor it, pray over it. But now, you're doing it from a place of possession, not just promise. You're living in the land once only seen from a distance. Let this season teach you. Delay was never denial. Silence was never rejection. And pain was never the end of the story. They were all preparation. And now, what you've believed with trembling hands is being handed to you in full. The divine is touching the earth through your life. And what was hidden in your heart is stepping into the light. You're not arriving, you're unfolding. And the story is far from over. The 3 a.m. warrior mantle is falling now. This is more than an awakening, it's an anointing. A spiritual commissioning being released in the quiet hours when the world is asleep. While others dream, you receive. While others rest, you rise. Because God has chosen this hour to wrap you in a mantle woven with fire, obedience, and authority. You are not just a seeker, you are a carrier. Chosen one. Something sacred is being placed on your shoulders. Not a burden, but a mantle. Not weight, but responsibility. This is the moment where identity meets assignment, where hunger meets heaven. And the mantle that's falling isn't for show, it's for battle. You've been trained in the shadows for this. You've learned to war without applause. You've prayed through storms, fought through silence, stayed when you could have escaped. And now, God says, you are ready. Not perfect, not fearless, but ready because you've proven you won't fold when it's hard, won't run when it's quiet, won't quit when it's costly. This mantle marks a shift. You are no longer just being prepared, you are being deployed. And your territory is not just a physical place, it's spiritual ground. Every conversation, every room you walk into, every soul you intercede, for those are battlefields. And you carry heaven's orders into them. The 3 a.m. mantle is not glamorous. It is gritty. It comes with early mornings and late nights, with the weight of words unspoken and the pressure of prayers that carry nations. It is not for the faint of heart, but you've endured enough to carry it. You've been broken enough to hold it. You've been hidden long enough to walk with it. This mantle means you don't move based on feeling, but on revelation. You don't need confirmation from people when you've already heard from God. You walk with conviction in places that once confused you. You speak with clarity where others are still guessing. You stand firm while others shift with the wind. What you wear in the spirit now is visible in the unseen realm. Hell recognizes it. Angels honor it, and heaven backs it. The mantle you carry has authority to unlock, to uproot, to restore, to release. Your voice has been amplified in realms beyond earth, and what you speak now carries weight beyond words. As we read in 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 14, he took the cloak that had fallen from Elijah and struck the water with it. Where now is the Lord, the God of Elijah? He asked. When he struck the water, it divided to the right and to the left, and he crossed over. Elisha didn't just inherit a cloak, he inherited power, access, responsibility. That is what the mantle represents. And you are stepping into your own crossing over, out of preparation, into purpose, out of waiting, into walking, out of hesitation, into holy fire. This is your moment, not to declare it loudly, but to carry it deeply. The true warrior doesn't need to announce their arrival. The mantle speaks. The fruit reveals. The glory confirms. And you, chosen one, are no longer who you were yesterday. This mantle will attract responsibility, not recognition. You will be entrusted with people others ignored, assigned to battles others avoided, called to love where others judged, but you will not go alone. This mantle comes with backing, with favor, with access to wisdom, strength, and clarity you've never known before. Even now, your spirit is sensing it. The shift in the wind, the tingling awareness that something has changed. It has. Heaven has marked this moment, not with noise, but with knowing. And you are rising not just as one awakened, but as one armed. You are no longer just a believer, you are a builder. No longer just a vessel, you are a voice. No longer just a dreamer, you are a doer. Because the mantle doesn't fall on the passive, it finds the faithful. And you have been found ready. Wear it with humility, carry it with strength, guard it with prayer, and walk boldly in what heaven has handed you. Chosen one, what you've just walked through is not just a message, It's a movement, a divine unfolding of identity, authority, and awakening. The words you've received were never meant to stay within the walls of your heart. They're meant to echo, to ripple across generations, because this isn't just your moment. It's your mantle. It's your mission. You've been activated. You've been affirmed. And now, you've been anointed. The 3 a.m. hour isn't a coincidence, it's a call. The signs weren't strange, they were strategic. The fire wasn't to destroy you, it was to define you. You are not who you were. You are stronger, sharper, and spiritually seen. And as you go forward, carry this truth. You were never waiting on the right moment. You were becoming the moment. You're the shift. You're the evidence. You're the remnant that hell feared and heaven prepared. So walk in it, not with fear, but with fire. And if this journey has spoken to your spirit, if it's stirred something deep within, don't let it end here. Like, share, subscribe, let others awaken as you have. And for those who feel led, those who've been blessed deeply by this word, consider sowing a seed to keep this prophetic flow moving. Every gift helps this message reach another warrior waiting to rise. Finally, if your heart bears witness, type 777 in the comments. A number of completion, a sign that you've heard, received, and are now ready to walk in all that's been spoken. This is not the end. This is the beginning.